What you're looking at is the world's best-selling off-roader. The Ford Explorer has been around in the States since 1990 and arrived in the UK in right-hand drive in '97. It's hugely powerful thanks to a 4-litre V6, comes with all the ritzy bits and is excellent value. But, and it's a big but, UK versions have a tragic flaw.
You see, we've been told by 10 terrified people that the accelerator pedals on their Ford Explorers have jammed wide open without any warning whatsoever. And we are talking here about something that weighs close on 2 tons and pushes out 200 brake horsepower. Apparently even frantic pumping of the brake pedal doesn't slow the thing down, it just gets faster and faster. And sadly, in April of this year, someone was killed at the wheel of a runaway Explorer.
35-year-old Christopher Merrick died of head injuries when his Explorer went out of control down a busy Bristol street. Witnesses say the Explorer was hurtling along the road like a rallycross car. The inquest returned a verdict of accidental death and heard that vehicle defects were a major contributory factor in this very tragic accident. But Christopher Merrick wasn't the only driver to find himself at the wheel of an errant Explorer.
Immediately the throttle shoots up to 4,000 or 5,000 revs and stays there. The car therefore is in 1 gear and it accelerates wildly. You're lucky if you can control the steering, let alone try to think about braking or putting the car in neutral.
It's just like there's a gremlin under the bonnet, if I can say that. It's just like, as you accelerate, it's got a mind of its own. It just wants to take over and just wants to go where it wants to go.
All of a sudden, this turbo boost type situation cut in, and we went hurtling up the road.
You just can't control it. Brakes will not stop it. You have to switch the ignition off, put it into neutral, and the engine is just revving and revving and revving.
We've had 3 incidences, and each one has happened to us separately. And my daughter had the first one, and I had the second one, and my son the third.
I had to overtake vehicles when it wasn't safe to overtake vehicles.
And all of a sudden the car rocketed out of control. I pressed the brakes and it wouldn't stop.
I just had to continuously ride the brake for about 4 or 5 miles.
I eventually managed to slow it down and pulled the handbrake, reached down and the accelerator pedal was stuck to the floor.
I had to pick a place to crash, and I crashed into a man-made stone wall to stop the vehicle.
I ended up going round a bus through a red light and eventually managed to get the car into neutral. It was absolutely terrifying.
A month after Christopher Merrick died, Ford contacted the 3,459 owners of Explorers sold in the UK for recall modifications. First, owners were asked to take out this overmat, which Ford believed was interfering with the accelerator pedal. Then later on, they were asked to take their Explorers to dealers, who then modified the hole in the bulkhead through which the accelerator pedal cable passes and the pedal itself. But Ford had been told they'd got a problem with the Explorer 9 months before Christopher Merrick was killed. Linda Spirry wrote to Ford's customer service department in July 1997, wanting her accelerating Explorer replaced. Ford replied and said that in the opinion of one of their dealer service engineers, there was nothing wrong with the vehicle at all, and it was safe to use.
It was plainly obvious that there was something very wrong with this car. They just tried to persuade us that we wanted a different car, that the colour was wrong, that we weren't happy with the car, but we were concerned about the safety, but they wouldn't accept the point.
Ford say that they do monitor any defect reports received from dealers, customers or elsewhere, and are particularly sensitive to any which may relate to safety. And when asked why it took them so long to respond, they pointed out that they make a great many different cars around the world and undertake the safety process as swiftly as possible, but say that it cannot be accomplished without extremely careful scrutiny.
This tragic story tells us that we need a better and faster recall system. It might surprise you to know that there's no legal obligation for a manufacturer to record or investigate any safety complaints against its cars. And there's no legal obligation for them to recall those cars if they find a problem. And you'll be stunned to know that the government can't force them to do it either. It's a sort of gentleman's agreement between the car makers and the government, and it just isn't good enough. If we had a faster and more efficient recall system in this country, Christopher Merrick might still be alive today.